Imagine paying top dollar for an RV hookup site, only to find out that it doesn't exist. RVing is an amazing way to travel, but it also makes you a prime target for certain scams. Today I'm covering the biggest scams RVers need to watch out for, and how to avoid them. Stick around to the end, because I'll share the sneaky scam that almost got me. Okay, so let's talk about fake campgrounds and reservations. Basically, this is how the scam works. Websites are put up and they list premium RV sites that don't exist, or they do exist and they aren't the actual owner of the campground and they are able to charge deposits and take money like they're renting you the space. So how do they do this? How does it work? Well, what happens is that scammers create these fake images with AI generated reviews and they steal images from real campgrounds and they basically put up these cloned websites. It doesn't even have to be in the same area. They can take them from some other area of the country and then reuse them. Thankfully, I never ran into this on the road. We just had a stint where we lived on the road for 2 years full-time in our RV. We never actually experienced this firsthand, but I have seen on the community forums reports of this happening to people, and they'll talk about arriving at an empty lot or a locked gate where there's supposed to be a campground and there's nothing there. So what do you do about this? How do you avoid it? It's pretty simple, thankfully. So the big thing we do is we will use RV Life, which reviews the campgrounds, and they are actually reviewed by people in the lifestyle. It has not been overrun by AI bots or anything like that. And we will also cross-reference that with the Google reviews and see if those two things match up. When in doubt, you can always call the campground and talk to an actual person and let your spidey sense kind of tease it out. And also Google Maps is a wonderful tool here. What you can do is you can actually, if you're worried about the place not existing, for example, you can go into the map view and look at the location and find the street view, the satellite view, make sure there's an actual campground there. If you're worried that they're selling sites that are owned by somebody else, you can call the office. And typically Google Reviews and RV Life will have the website and the contact info, and you can kind of cross-reference that. You know, the thing is, if your hackles are up, if it doesn't seem right, just dig a little deeper and double check. Like I said, we never ran into that. We primarily would book our things through RV Life. Okay, so those are the campgrounds. Another big thing I've seen is too good to be true gas savings. So basically the scam here is that they're offering an exclusive fuel discount membership, and it sounds really good, but they're actually bait and switch schemes. So how it works is companies promise huge fuel savings, but they charge high monthly fees, or they require gas station brands that aren't common on RV routes, knowing that people won't actually take advantage of it. So when you're looking at this, when you're looking at fuel programs, in order to avoid this happening to you, there are a couple of big red flags you can look for. One is big upfront costs with vague details. The other thing is tied to the company history. So if you are getting these outreaches, you don't know anything about the company, look it up. Look at the Better Business Bureau. Look and see if you can find anything on Reddit or any online forums about people's interactions with these companies. If there are no interactions or a lot of negative interactions, just slow your roll. Companies that have a history of billing issues will come up on these searches, and that's usually a big tell. Now, to be fair, not all gas and fuel programs are scams. There are plenty of reputable ones that are tried and tested. Justin will frequently at the pumps at Flying J or Pilot. I can't remember. I'll ask him and then I'll put it on the screen for y'all. But he will enter his card number. He gets rewards, and that's legit. I know there are other ones that are regional that are good for diesel savings in particular. A lot of times diesel is where these savings come. We are actually in a gas rig, so we have less experience with these kinds of programs. But yeah, do your research, make sure it's legit. The next big scam is RV repair experts that take your money and it's not quite what it's cracked up to be. Here's the scam. First off, I want to say there are plenty of licensed, reputable RV techs. That's not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about is unlicensed mobile RV techs or roadside Good Samaritans who will charge you for the repairs that don't actually fix the issue and might actually hurt your rig. And how this works is they will show up at your site or on the side of the road, claim you have a major problem, charge you a discount fee, and then disappear. And it can be very tempting because it's lower than what you would pay at a repair shop, that's licensed or with a licensed mobile tech. And also, everybody who's had an RV and needs to get it brought into a shop knows that the shops are really backed up. A lot of times mobile techs can be backed up, so the fact that you can get your rig fixed in a timely manner can be very attractive as a prospect. Just the fact that can happen now, and that's kind of why you fall prey to this. So what would be some common scenarios? What sorts of things would these people say? So, I can fix that AC for cheap. And they do it, they don't fix it. Or your wheel bearings need repacking right now. Do they though? Do they? So luckily this one's pretty easy to avoid. Knowing is half the battle, as G.I. Joe says. But basically, a big thing you can do is ask for their certification as a mobile tech. Something like RVIA or RVDA or a state license. Another thing you can do is that a lot of these mobile techs will have Google or Facebook reviews. You go and you look on Google, you look on Facebook, you see if they have a reputation, see if what people are talking about them. That's really helpful. And honestly, if you were approached at a gas station, a rest stop, or on the side of the road, just say no, because that is not how legitimate repair people tend to operate. Frankly, they tend to be busy enough with legitimate business. They don't need to be trolling around places where they're going to find RVers and offering them a fix. Okay, so shifting gears, let's talk about RV sales and scams. And this one is a big one. I've heard so many horror stories on the forums. It can be really tough because a lot of times people have had trouble with dealerships. Particularly, I know Camping World gets kind of a bad rap out in the wild, but even a lot of local RV dealerships, people are like, well, dealership's going to rip you off because there's that commission and things like that. So it can be very tempting to work with private sellers. And honestly, you can get a good deal working with private sellers if you have somebody who wants to offload their rig. The trouble is that you open yourself up to scams. So I wanted to talk about that really quick. So what's this look like? Well, you go and you buy an RV from a private seller, only to find out that the RV is stolen or it has a salvage title, or maybe it doesn't even exist and you're out your money. So how does this work? Well, on a site like Craigslist or Facebook, that kind of thing, there will be fake listings with low prices to lure buyers into wiring money deposits. And this is going to be a case-by-case basis. This is a really tough area, but here are a few warning signs to watch out for. One is if they say something like, I'm out of town, but I can ship it. They're not available for you to stop by, to meet, that sort of thing. That can be a big deal. They don't want to meet you in person. Why? This can be really tricky because a lot of RVers are nomadic. It can be tough to walk away from these interactions, but you can lose so much in one of these scams. So anytime no in-person meeting is allowed, that's a big red flag. I mean, just on the internet in general with scams, but particularly with this. And the other thing is really tough. A price way below market value could be a good deal, but a lot of times it's a clear sign of a scam. And part of that is because they want to get you excited. They want to get you so you're reckless, so you feel like this is an opportunity you need to jump on and you don't do your due diligence. So, if it seems too good to be true and they don't want to meet you in person, probably a scam. So how do you avoid this? Well, one big thing you could do is you can check the VIN history of any RV you would like to purchase on the National Insurance Crime Bureau website. Try to insist on an in-person meeting, and if that's not feasible or they're reluctant, demand a video call before sending any deposit. Be firm about this. It's important. All right, so those are some common scams. That brings me to the scam that almost got me personally. I've been meaning to talk about this for a while. I almost got tricked into overpaying hundreds of dollars for my RV stay, and that's because of a sneaky pricing policy that a lot of RV perks use. And this is a funny thing. It's not a criminal scam to the degree that some of the other things we talked about are, but it's so common and it's kind of related to that. So I wanted to talk about this because I feel like you are very likely to run into this if you're on the road for any length of time like we were. So basically, most parks have a discounted monthly rate that's way lower than the weekly rate multiplied by 4. But they won't automatically give you the lower price unless you explicitly ask for the monthly rate. And if you just book 4 weeks online, they'll charge you the full weekly rate instead. And some places will refuse to revert it to monthly. If you book the 4 weeks at the weekly rate, even though it usually will come out to basically being 2 weeks, you get half the month free. Even if you point it out to them, they'll be like, oh, well, sorry, there's no refunds, it says it here. Or they'll say, well, sorry, that's just our reservation software, and then they'll pocket the difference. So this is something I did mistakenly early on in my journey. I was basically just about to book, even though the website didn't warn me, there was no kind of thing. I had selected monthly. When I went through, it basically bundled 4 weeks at the weekly rate in to make my stay, and then it knocked my price way up. And if I had not been paying attention and just kind of clicked through, I would have booked this 4-week stay. It would have cost double the price of their monthly rate, and their policy said that I wouldn't be able to get it back. So thankfully, I managed to stop before I checked out. I called the office, I talked to them, and I was able to book the monthly rate over the phone. The difference between those two rates was about $500. And if I hadn't been paying attention, which I know it sounds funny, like you're not paying attention, but if you have to book a bunch of sites, and I was booking a bunch of sites at the time and going through and getting everything set up on the calendar and making sure that our routes looked good, and I could have done that, and I could have wasted $500 easily if I had been tech savvy, if I had been paying attention, because it flipped over and I only saw it on the payment screen when I was about to pay. So how do you avoid this? Well, always check the monthly versus weekly rates before booking. When in doubt, call the office instead of using the online system. Don't book something and then call the office. Like, talk to a person. And make sure you understand the rules of your reservation. So some parks will require you to physically keep your RV there for the entire month. I've heard about this too, where people will book at the monthly rate and then they'll stay there for 3 weeks or something, because after the first 2 weeks it comes out for the rest of the month free. So they basically got a free week, and they will just pack up and go a week early, and then they'll get the charge for the difference between 3 weeks and monthly. I have seen that in the forums. I hate that. That's a very deceptive pricing policy, and I would be tempted at that point to dispute it with the credit card company, do a chargeback, something like that, because that is skeezy behavior. But I have seen that. So make sure that if you're booking a site for a full month and you know you're not going to be there the full month, that you talk to the office ahead of time and see if they have a policy like that so that you can avoid that. So again, this isn't technically illegal, but it's definitely something that RVers need to watch out for. And deceptive pricing practices are easy to fall for when you're new to the lifestyle. Anyway, it's been great talking to you as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.